Welcome back to Robert Morris University's live coverage of the 2012 presidential election. Alongside the handsome Brooks Bratton, I'm John Flacco. We have been on the desk here for the past hour and a half. Our coverage began tonight as a team at 8 o'clock, and we are wrapping up here shortly. We're in our final half hour, and we have a lot still to come here. We want to bring in Leah Fleischl and Dr. Anthony Moretti for a sort of roundtable discussion across the studio. You guys want to start us off here?
Ball's in your court.
Well, I can say at least I've successfully made my way around every part of the studio, from the news desk to social media over to the interview chair. So, Dr. Moretti,
you're going places, huh?
I guess so. So, Dr. Moretti, what can you tell us about what the Obama victory means for the next 4 years? I know his campaign slogan was forward. Do you think Barack Obama is going to continue to move us in that direction as he promised?
I think he can if the Republicans say, let's play. Let's face it, we could conceivably see a scenario starting in late January of 2013 where the Republicans say, we're not going to play ball with you. And that could lead us again to 4 more years where this country has a lot of issues it has to tackle, and they sort of kick that can down the road a little further. My hope is, and maybe it's naive, maybe it's optimistic, I don't know which is true, my hope is that both parties are going to say, okay, the fighting is over. It's time that now this will be 8 years if we don't work together. It'll be 8 years in which this country is going to point the finger of blame at one of our parties. That's not healthy for the country. So let's hope they say, let's actually try to find a way to get at some of the big ticket items, be it Medicare, be it the deficit, be it the economy, etc.
Absolutely. Let's get some questions from Brooks and John over here. This is a round table. We will share the spotlight, so to speak. What do you guys have for us?
Well, guys, I just want to mention real quick before we go back to you a couple of local races to update you on. If you watch TV here in Robert Morris or this portion of Allegheny County, you've undoubtedly seen commercials for these fellows, and we do have some updates for you. In the congressional 12th district, Republican Keith Rothfuss has defeated Democrat Mark Kritz 55-44 with 97% of those votes tallied. Again, Rothfuss defeating Kritz in the congressional 12th district. And in the 18th district, Republican Tim Murphy defeats Democrat Larry Maggi 63-36%. So 2 local races there. And something I want to post to you guys over at our second cent there. We talked about potentially being on the air till midnight here and still not being able to call a president. We were able to do that tonight with about 45 minutes to spare. And there were really no surprises as to which states Governor Romney took, which states President Obama took. To either one of you, are you surprised that we weren't waiting longer to find out who the president was?
In a way, yes. And what I mean by that is I think when the evening began, I think most people assumed that the Electoral College race was going to be a little tighter. I think the expectation was that Mitt Romney was going to win Florida. I think the expectation was he was going to win North Carolina and might also win Virginia. If he had won those 3, then a lot of things on the West Coast would have been far different in terms of, instead of it kicking President Obama over the top relatively early, it would have been a matter of inching him a little bit closer and a little bit closer and a little bit closer. But clearly in at least 2 of the so-called battleground states, Ohio and Florida, the president's message resonated in such a way that it really made this a relatively early night when I think most people assumed, or at least a fair number of people assumed, it could go a lot later into the evening.
You're absolutely correct, and not only were the 3 states you mentioned close and projected to possibly go Romney's direction, but a lot of states, even Pennsylvania, there's a lot of talk. I know Romney's last-ditch effort, so to speak, as to get Pennsylvania on his side took place today in Pittsburgh at the Pittsburgh International Airport, right down the road here in Moon Township. Romney really wanted Pennsylvania, and I really think it would have made a difference as to what time this election was called and even the outcome.
Very, very true. And again, it comes back to, I think, tomorrow morning, what are the 2 parties going to say? How are they going to spin this, so to speak? When he was reelected in 2004, President Bush was criticized heavily for essentially going out the next day and saying, I now have essentially a mandate to do what I think has to be done. And Democrats took a step back and said, whoa, wait a minute, slow down. I mean, you didn't blow away this race. It was a close race. I don't think Barack Obama will approach it the same way tomorrow morning. I think what you're probably going to see out of him is that very same delivery that says, look, we've got some issues we've got to tackle, and I need to work with the Republicans to get this done. Putting the pressure, in other words, on the Republicans to make it happen. I also think, though, that for the Republican Party now begins a real kind of soul searching for exactly what this party's going to be. 4 years ago, they ran a man who I think, by and large, people across the country like, in John McCain. This year, they ran someone who was not necessarily as popular across the board. But in both cases, they were, generally speaking, moderate Republicans. You can now see the right wing, the conservative and the social wing, and the Tea Party wing all sort of working together in the Republican Party and saying, not again 4 years from now. We're going to bring somebody on the right, so to speak, side of this party and run him or her in an election. The concern there is, does a person like that play nationally? Probably not, but I think for the Republican Party, they're going to say that's the direction we're moving. Moderates have not been successful in the last two elections for them.
And you're absolutely correct. A really interesting point you made was the likability of John McCain as opposed to Mitt Romney. I would have to agree with you there, although Mitt Romney, when he did have supporters, they seemed a lot more die-hard, so to speak. What do you have to say about that
Well,
in this election?
I think, generally speaking, 4 years ago, the Republican brand was pretty battered. And so I think, by and large, most people looked at Barack Obama and they said, oh, he's just different from George Bush. That's good enough for me. This time, I think people looked and they said, all right, now this man has a record to run on. What do we think of that record? Has he been perfect? No. Has he got unemployment back under control? Not necessarily. Is the economy better? A little bit. But I think what enough voters said tonight was, I'm willing to give this man 4 more years. And I think it's also a reflection on getting an incumbent president out of office is incredibly difficult. Simply because, again, people are more likely to look at who they have in there and say, I want to keep him in there.
And I think that's exactly what happened this evening. We need to go back over to Brooks and John, as is being indicated to us. So we will head back over to them at the news desk.
All right, guys, thanks very much. We apologize for a couple technical difficulties. We did hear from Dr. Moretti, but towards the end lost the video. Apologize for that, Brooks. A lot of good points, and you have some breaking updates on a couple other local races.
Yes, well, the equipment has been going for upwards of 4 hours now, so we're all starting to get a little weary, but we'll keep trudging on, and we've got another local update for you. 2 gentlemen who are natives of my hometown, Mount Lebanon. Senator in the General Assembly 37th District, Republican D. Raja losing to Democrat Matt Smith 45 to 54%. So a close race there in the General Assembly 37th District, Matt Smith and D. Raja. We had Raja here when he was running for Allegheny County Executive, debating against Rich Fitzgerald, ultimately Rich Fitzgerald winning that race. So 2 more local guys there in the news, and we've got their final results there for you. Still waiting perhaps some word from the Romney campaign. We've heard from the president tweeting earlier tonight, no word yet on if he's given an official victory speech, but we're still awaiting word on Governor Mitt Romney and what he has to say about tonight's final numbers.
Yeah, some sort of a concession speech we would expect at some point, but we're still waiting that. Hopefully we'll get that within the next couple of minutes here while we're still on the air. We have another report from our very own John Fisher. He went out and just moments ago, after the race was called, the Black Student Union held a parade, so to speak, on campus. He went out, saw what they were doing, and here's his story.
We have a winner here for 2012 election coverage. Barack Obama right now, as you can try and see the board here, 275 electoral votes, and that means he has won the election. We have the Black Student Union here cheering like they were all night. Now somebody come in here, it doesn't even matter who. Again, your guy won. How does it feel?
So good. So I'm so happy. We'll know the next presidents before we know what happened in Ohio or Virginia.
Elections do come with stress for sure. Now, your name, sir?
Stanley Bennett.
Stanley Bennett, your opinions on the election. Obama has won and will be the president for the next 4 years, according to the Huffington Post. We will get the official statement later in the program, but your reactions right now.
It proves that anything is possible.
Let's talk now to a man who
once you made a prediction in his crystal ball, and I want to get a sense of how he's feeling about that
A
prediction.
man that was
right
born in
now.
Hawaii, if I'm not mistaken, out of Illinois, and who won 4 years ago in surprising fashion over John McCain, now defeating Mitt Romney, the governor of Massachusetts. Darius, back to you. We've been talking to you all night long. Let's finish it off. What are your opinions on the election? It's
Although I
over.
got to tell you something funny.
For a while, it was stressful.
We projected Obama at 290 and said he could go to 303 because it was 50-50 in Virginia. By the way, President Obama is going to win Virginia. I've seen it in the precinct
Are
results.
you going to be president someday? Are these the aspirations you're
What
looking
is
for?
still out, but I can tell you that I'm absolutely sure that he is going to win Virginia. So we put it up to 303. We got
Now here's the one key
hundreds
question I'm going to put
hundreds
you on the
of
spot here.
emails, tweets,
People, like we talked about earlier, the haters, if you will, they're not just the Republican Party, but a lot of people in
because
general.
there was no
They
way
say he
President
didn't
Obama
keep
was
his
going to win,
promises.
or if he was
I
going to
asked you the
win,
same question
he was going to
earlier.
win by 1 or 2
Now, he
electoral
has the
votes.
chance to do it
turns
officially.
out we undershot his
Do you have
victory.
faith in him again?
I didn't see him win in Florida. He's going to win Florida. So it's a big, big victory for President Obama and his team.
Takes a team
Let's say
effort
we have
to
not
make these
projected
decisions and make
No,
them
we've
to
not,
them. And Obama's just a
nor
piece of that
Virginia.
puzzle.
But Larry, what do you think this is about? If these
Exactly, and
numbers pulled
America
up
is a
in
place where dreams do
Virginia,
come
and
true.
obviously
Like you were saying,
we
Darian and
project
Obama is one of the main
Wisconsin,
reasons for
Iowa,
that.
not
Let's
yet
go over here. What's your
projected
name,
Ohio.
miss?
Shanae Cleveland.
But what
Janae
does,
Cleveland. Now again, Obama has won the reactions. I'm assuming you agree with Darian and Stanley over there that you are very happy right now.
Yeah, I'm very excited. It proves now that people are voting for the right reasons. They know what Obama can do, and they give them the chance. So I'm really excited about this.
No worries.
And your final words, all you have to do
I
is
didn't
vote,
mean to
right?
jump the
All you
gun.
gotta do is get out there and vote. Those of you who got the chance to do it, thank you.
Yeah,
You get another chance. Make
my
sure you
sense
do.
of it is,
And that's
that
going to be in
when
2016. A
Republicans
whole
sit
new
back
group
and
of people
reflect on this,
will be voting
they're
from
going to
ages
see
14
that
and
they
up
have
currently,
enormous
and I will be
problems in
voting as
two
well as
areas.
many
First
others,
of all,
including the Black
demographics.
Student Union. Again, none of you
If
will be
they
here. You all
don't
have
do
graduated,
far
but
better
I'm
with
assuming the
Hispanic,
faith
young
and the
people,
passion will still be there
women,
for Barack
other
Obama
groups,
and others to follow in his
looking at how
footsteps.
the
Again,
population
excellent
is
election
changing.
coverage
One
tonight. I'm
woman
John
has
Fisher.
won
Thank you
future
you guys for
presidential
watching me all
And of
night
course,
long,
the second
reporting,
part
running
of
everywhere.
that
I don't even have my
is
suit
their
jacket on.
issue
I'm
with
sweating so much. But
most
you have the
Americans
official word in
have
here.
an
Barack
element of
Obama
fiscal
now, according to the
conservatism.
Huffington Post,
In fact,
has
I would
won
say many of
275
those who voted
electoral votes. It is not
Democratic
over yet,
are fiscal
but Mitt Romney
How
cannot
do
come
they
back again. Thank you guys so much for joining us. In 4
emphasize
years, we'll be
of their
doing this again.
platform
Don't
while
worry. Again, reporting
de-emphasizing
live for
the
Army
part
TV
that
News.
is repelling so many
right.
of the groups I just mentioned, and I'm talking about.
And thanks to our own John Fisher for bringing you that report and reports throughout the last couple of hours of coverage here on RMU TV. There you see a graphic of Barack Obama, Vice President Joe Biden. 4 more years for those two at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, John Clocko. And the local races, we continue to get some words on those. Pennsylvania Attorney General Democrat Kathleen Kane has defeated Republican David Freed 61% to 35%. And also a quick stat on President Obama, who again winning the presidency due to the fact that he took the state of Ohio, putting him up to 274 electoral college votes. The president campaigned in Ohio more than any other, 22 visits, 26 rallies for the president in that key battleground state of Ohio. It appears to have paid off tonight. And you've got a question for our friends back over across the studio, and we're going to have some more interaction with them.
Yeah, we are. I want to bring them back in here in just 1 second. I do want to point out, just to piggyback off of what you just mentioned, we saw those appearances in Ohio from President Obama, and it was clearly identified as one of those states that needed to be won by the Romney campaign. And we saw that this afternoon as he made a campaign stop in Cleveland before coming and making his final campaign stop of this election season right here in Pittsburgh. So that was kind of a neat thing as well. I do want to bring back in Dr. Anthony Moretti and Leah Fleischel standing by. And I want to look ahead now. 2016 election season starts right now.
It's 4 years away, but you know what? It'll be here before you know it.
Here we go. It's there is no resting period, so to speak. But Dr. Moretti, your thoughts on who might be the candidates that we will see run for the president in 2016?
Well, take a deep breath, because it's almost midnight at just the clock turn, or as the day turns to November 7th, you'll immediately begin to see the predictions or the projections for 2016. You're going to face an interesting scenario 4 years from now. Presuming that Joe Biden does not run, and I don't think he will, Presuming he doesn't, you are going to see an open Democratic primary and an open Republican primary, just like we had 4 years ago. It would not surprise me. I think everybody expects on the Democratic side that Hillary Clinton is going to make a run for the White House. This was a woman whose image, at least in terms of why she stuck so hard next to the president, meaning Bill Clinton, was she either presidential enough? Did she lose because she had the Clinton name? In other words, was there sort of a Clinton fatigue 8 years ago now after this term for Barack Obama ends? I think you're going to see Hillary Clinton run again, and I think she will have tremendous support as we move forward.
Something we discussed over the break, certainly Hillary Clinton has done a bang-up job as Secretary of State. Not only that, but it would be another first in years to come. But we're going to head back over to the news desk as being indicated by us. What do you have for us, Brooks and John?
Yeah, guys, we've got some breaking news, although it seems that every news outlet on the planet that at least we can find has called Barack Obama, giving him 4 more years in the White House. According to CNN, Mitt Romney has not yet conceded. Not really sure if that really pertains to anything, but Mitt Romney is not conceding yet. So some interesting details coming out of the Romney camp. We were waiting for word from them. We have not gotten it, and perhaps that is why he's still waiting.
We're being told that he's not going to, as a matter of fact, and that he is still holding out hope, although it seems as though he is mathematically out of the race. But Brooks, are we getting something else?
Yeah, we've got, you mentioned it earlier, Donald Trump. Of course, everybody knows who he is, always outspoken, huge Republican supporter, Mr. Trump, tweeting, quote, "We can't let this happen. We should march on Washington and stop this travesty. Our nation is totally divided," end quote. That was Donald Trump on Twitter. So obviously a very influential voice, Mr. Trump, letting his voice be heard on Twitter tonight. Obviously a big Republican supporter, not happy with the results that have come in tonight. And again, as we just mentioned moments ago, still perhaps some drama in this race. Mitt Romney, according to CNN, has not yet conceded.
Donald Trump also tweeting just seconds ago, the Electoral College is a disaster for democracy. And so I guess this will be interesting to follow in the days to come, Brooks, as we continue to follow this, well, literally minute by minute. But a revolution, so to speak, is being charged by Donald Trump, and Republicans upset all over the country.
Well, and the last count that you had seen, if I'm correct, you said that you had found out that Mitt Romney still, in fact, had the popular vote throughout the country. And certainly some interesting information coming in there. It all matters with the Electoral College votes. Again, 270 needed. President Barack Obama got 274 tonight. Mitt Romney, however, has the popular vote there. So again, even though we've only got about 13 minutes left with you, the drama's not going to be over anytime soon, it appears. Again, Mitt Romney not yet conceding, and the Donald taking to Twitter and letting his voice be heard, and certainly a voice that many Republicans respect. So it'll be interesting from that standpoint to see if anything comes of Mr. Trump's words on Twitter this evening.
Well, Brooks, we're seeing a situation that we saw in 2000. I mentioned it earlier, the Bush-Gore election of 2000, where Gore won the popular vote, but Bush won the Electoral College. That's setting up to be the exact same situation if the numbers stay how they are right now. Of course, we know Barack Obama picking up the Electoral College vote, and that's what matters. But right now, Mitt Romney, and we'll see how it continues down throughout the rest of the evening and into tomorrow, he still has the popular vote. It's a system that some disagree with, and it's a system, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on what your view is, that we have to live with. We're going to send it over to Leah Fleischel and Dr. Moretti once again. They're on the other side of the studio now at the social media desk, looking at some of these very same tweets and minute by minute, second by second reactions that are coming in, guys.
The only thing I can wonder is, has Donald Trump's Twitter page been hacked? And I don't mean that to sound funny. I mean, I'm being serious.
This is absurd.
It's one thing to be angry. I mean, I can understand, this is a guy I wanted to win, he didn't win. But, we're looking at these, and this seems belligerent. I mean, this is not only the person I wanted to win lost, but this is, I'm really angry and I'm really bitter. And the irony is that just 2 minutes ago, we were talking about, can the two parties come together? This is not a way to bring the two parties together. No. And the other thing is, and I mean no disrespect to Mr. Trump, this is probably going to come off disrespectful, but who cares what he thinks? I mean, and again, I'm trying not to be disrespectful. It probably comes off that way. He's another guy with an opinion tonight. Yes, he's upset. I can accept that, but this, I don't know. This seems a little over the top.
Well, Dr. Money, who cares what he thinks? Apparently almost 2 million followers do. I mean, but this is absolutely absurd, some of these tweets, especially coming from a public figure. We can expect this anger from some people whose candidate didn't win, but these tweets are absolutely absurd, calling the election a total sham and a travesty, saying our nation is a once great nation divided. The Electoral College is a disaster for democracy. These are angry, angry words coming from Mr. Trump. And as you can see at the top here, there is a blue check mark indicating this is his official Twitter page. I don't know if he's tweeting this or his publicist is doing a really awful job, but this is absolutely absurd.
And to go back to, I think, the more important question that Brooks and John were asking a few minutes ago, why is there no concession speech from Mitt Romney? Here's one scenario that may explain it. I don't think Florida's been called yet. So perhaps what the Romney campaign is thinking is this. If we win the other states that are still open, and we can therefore make a case that we win, that Florida could tip the election in the other direction, so to speak, we may want to hold off, therefore claiming a contested election, that sort of thing. I don't know. Again, I'm just sort of picking a scenario to explain why he might be doing that. The other possibility is that, again, maybe projecting here, that in an effort to try to bring some unison or unification, so to speak, to the country, that maybe he and the president are going to plan some kind of joint appearance tomorrow, something like that. Again, this has been an incredibly bruising campaign with a lot of words said on both sides that I think both parties would probably admit they probably want to hold their nose on. Maybe there's an opportunity for the two men to do something tomorrow. I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with a scenario to explain why he wouldn't deliver a concession speech tonight. Tradition, so to speak, dictates that he should.
Yeah, this is all speculation at the moment. As we see from Mitt Romney's Twitter page, he has not tweeted anything for at least 5 hours. He's keeping very silent on what his plans are. As far as conceding, as far as making a speech, anything Mitt Romney, we are hearing nothing from him.
And the other tradition, therefore, is the concession speech comes before the acceptance speech. And so, therefore, you then have the pressure or the expectation of what is Barack Obama going to do tonight. His supporters clearly want him to say, hey, we won.
Yes.
If he's not going to do that until Mitt Romney concedes, then again, you're beginning to think, oh no, can we not even admit defeat and admit victory and move on? Strange night.
And is that a smart move on President Obama to hold off on making a victory speech, or is this kind of killing the moment as to speak?
Well, it's been tradition that the concession speech goes first, the acceptance speech follows, sometimes very quickly after that. Usually it involves a phone call, the two men say, thanks or whatever they may say to each other in a somewhat private conversation. It's intriguing to me that we're not seeing something from Mitt Romney to indicate he is going to go ahead and make a concession speech. And again, it does force Barack Obama, I think, to stay silent as well. To come out and say, hey, we won, does project a bit of an image of, well, have you really? I mean, do you win if the other guy says I didn't lose? I don't know. I mean, unless there's something they're planning together, or unless this has to do with Florida. One of those two scenarios plays out, I think, to explain what may be taking place tonight.
Both very possible situations. We haven't heard anything from Mr. Trump in about 6 minutes, which was our big story, so we will send it back over to Brooks and John.
All right, thanks very much, guys. We hear all the time it's never a good idea to take to social media when you're angry, and clearly Mr. Trump is angry tonight. We do have a couple of reports ready to take to you, and we will start off. We've got the Democrats and the Republicans, and we are going to start off with a report from the Republicans. So let's go to that right now.
This is Lizzie Widowich from the College Republican Watch Party at Sewell. We're definitely the members of the College Republican Party are definitely very disappointed. It was really high hopes that Mitt Romney would win, but as you all now know, President Obama has overtaken. It's been a fun night here at the College Republican Watch Party, and it's been an honor to get to see everyone here gathered together to support someone they really believe could change the country. This is Lizzie Ridich reporting from Sewell.
All right, Lizzie, thank you very much. Great job all night. Thank you for your reports. We are now going to go to the Democratic wrap-up on campus, and I believe Dan Kitchen.
It's been reported by Fox News, Obama has won for his second term in office. And if you want to ask the college Democrats, they have one thing to say in lieu of their victory.
4 more years!
We're going to. All right, thank you very much, Dan. We appreciate your reports throughout the night as well. And just an incredible night to remember here, Brooks. Fantastic evening for all of us here at RMU covering this. It has been one heck of a night, especially for the Obama campaign.
Yeah, coming up on 5 minutes to midnight here, about to turn the clock into November 7th, and another election day coming to a close here. You mentioned it, John. It really has been a great night, and it's a night obviously that only comes around once every 4 years. And for folks like you and I in a college setting, this is the only chance we'll ever get to do something like this. So it has certainly been a blast tonight. Again, President Obama will be in office for 4 more years. We do know that. 274 electoral college votes. We also know that we haven't heard anything from Mitt Romney anytime soon. We don't know when we will hear from him. You heard Dr. Moretti saying that possibly there's a scenario where Governor Romney might have something planned for tomorrow. We shall see. It could have something to do with the state of Florida. So lots of drama yet to come here, but one thing we can tell you, Barack Obama, 4 more years in the White House.
An incredible night. We will see how it plays out over the next couple of years. We are just about out of time. We want to thank all of you for joining us tonight, both on TV and online. For our entire crew here at the AMC, here at Robert Morris University, including Dr. Anthony Moretti, who really put this all together. I'm John Klocko.
And I'm Brooks Bratton. Thanks so much for tuning in. 4 more years for Barack Obama. You've been watching RMU TV. Good night, everybody.